Imagine you have to make a choice. On the left, you can eat a piece of dry bread in a quiet, safe room. On the right, you have access to a 5-course meal, but while you eat, you will be actively hunted by a bear. Which do you choose? The document you see here is a classic poem by Richard Scrafton Sharp called The Country Mouse and the City Mouse. We are going to deconstruct these stanzas to see how a simple fable addresses this exact dilemma. The story begins far away from the noise of civilization, in a setting much like this traditional thatched cottage. It's isolated, quiet, and completely removed from the threats of the outside world. In the first stanza, we see the foundation of the country mouse's happiness. The text uses the term unmolested, meaning she is completely undisturbed and safe. Her contentment comes from a basic diet of plain bacon and gray peas. Her definition of a good life currently relies entirely on safety and isolation. She has enough to eat, and nothing is trying to eat her. But that baseline of peace is about to be tested. A friend from the city arrives for a visit. The city mouse comes from a dense, crowded environment, like this historical London street, a place defined by constant motion, noise, and high social status. Returning to the poem, notice the specific vocabulary the city mouse uses to react to the country setting. Looking at stanzas 3 and 4, she frowned at the provisions and called the simple diet horrid. She applies urban social standards to rural survival, proposing a counteroffer. In the fourth stanza, she promises a treat of excellent food and a continuous feast if her friend will just pack up and leave the country. The effect of this judgment appears in stanza 5. The key word here is reluctant. The country mouse does not actually want to go. She is abandoning her natural instincts for safety entirely because of social pressure. The combination of shame from a peer and the promise of unearned luxury succeeds. A perfectly contented state of living is disrupted by the fear of missing out. The mice arrive in the city and creep into a grand parlor. There, they find the massive leftover remnants of an evening banquet. The text in stanza 7 introduces an entirely new, elevated culinary vocabulary. They eat dainties, which are delicate foods, trifle, a rich layered dessert, and foods designed to please the palate or the refined sense of taste. By stanza 8, they are regaling themselves, which means entertaining themselves with luxury. But this focused gluttony creates a fatal blind spot. They stop paying attention to their surroundings. The environment violently turns on them. The room is suddenly breached by 3 predators simultaneously: a dog, a cat, and the housemaid armed with a broom. To survive the sudden assault, the panicked mice executed the desperate and messy maneuver, diving up to their knees in a bowl of custard just to hide. The text says the country mouse sighed for her bacon and peas. Based on that line, pause the video and predict her final decision. Will she stay for the desserts or leave? The absolute cost of consuming this high-level luxury is a total loss of personal security. Having a dog and a cat actively trying to kill you instantly wipes out any perceived value of a layered dessert. Moving to the resolution in stanzas 9 and 10, the country mouse realizes her mistake. She tells her friend the city living is splendid, but she cannot endure or suffer through the constant terror. This sets up the central ideological clash of the poem. The text contrasts the city's dread of disturbance directly against the country's true delight in contentment and ease. She makes a decisive choice to walk away. She abandons the high-status city and returns home, shifting from a reluctant follower back into an independent survivor. We can map the core moral of this poem by placing these two realities side by side on this chart. The country offers simple food like bacon and peas, but guarantees peace, leaving you unmolested and content. The city offers fancy food, but at the cost of constant danger and fear. Understanding this contrast requires the vocabulary we decoded along the way. Words like unmolested, dainties, trifle, palate, and regaling build the exact framework of what she gained and what she lost. Sharp's fable illustrates a strict economic reality of human behavior. True psychological wealth comes from peace and contentment, not from perilous luxury.